Hello, welcome to my Sunday Farm. Today I have a mukbang and I'm gonna let's see, I have this protein shake. I'm gonna drink it with its zero sugar, 20 grams of protein from muscle milk. It's 100 calories. You can see it has 1% fat, 2% cholesterol, 9% sodium, and 3% carbohydrate with zero added sugar again, and 14% fiber, which is good. I have this Popeyes blackened ranch sauce. My bad. And then I have Jollof rice, lemon pepper, vegan chicken, and I have some crackers. And then I have like guacamole um sauce right there just in case I want to dip my anything in there. And then yeah, let's get started. Um so so I've been just kind of taking it easy, taking things slow and trying to, you know, trying to like get kind of ahead of things while also not like being fully absorbed in what I'm doing because I've been so pressed. And I feel like the more the more pressed I get, the least, interested I am in working with people, and that's 100% of what I do. I work for the people. You know, I am 100% committed to doing that. And it just kind of makes me feel less and less able to trust and able to communicate. And it just kind of drains all my resources when I feel like, people don't care. Like, people just want to take shots at me. They just want access to me because they want to throw the pie in my face. But as Red Pill, we all know, we all been through that. You know, we've all been through that. Let me put some this ranch on my vegan chicken. So I mean, pretty much like I just been feeling like no matter what I do, you know, I give it my 100, and in the end, you can take it or leave it. You know, I just hope that you at least, you know, gave it a shot, in your mind, gave it a chance, heard me out. Because to me, that's the least I could do. I'm going to taste this jollof rice by itself. Mm, it's pretty good. I like it. It tastes real grilled. It's extremely spicy, but I mean, it's pretty good. And now the fake chicken. The fake chicken. I mean, it's lemon chicken. Mmm. That's really good. This recipe is like no fail. Like, I coated it in flour and seasoning, which was mostly lemon pepper. And then I fried it, put sauce on it, lemon juice, and then I added a powder seasoning to it. because I never had that at home, the powder seasoning. And they're kind of like pricey. They're like $20 and up. The most affordable one is the ranch one, but I think it's Badia. Either Badia or Iberia. And that's what I used. Everything's so spicy. Mm. So, as you guys know, I've been doing TikTok live stream at night. And I go on around midnight, which I've been getting more and more. Like, I've been hating it. Like, I've been starting to hate it. I think because, like, people question, like, why are you on late at night? And then I have to explain to them because that's the suggested time for the content that I provide. I just feel like it puts everything that I'm doing into question, which kind of, I never thought would happen because, you know, I guess I didn't expect to be this popular so soon. Although we do know that my platform is not shy from controversy. That's why I like to be prepared and plan things in advance and do things, within my own means, which in this case I was clearly disillusioned. Yet in my mind, I was like, I can do this. Anybody can do this. These people are just coming off, the streets and just hanging out. Why can't I? Quickly, that came to a heat. Everybody was like, you got a lot of energy. Or, just keep praising my content because it was full of, you know, kind of discussions that, people never even, thought of. But, I do question it sometimes, like, what if I just wanted to battle and then I'd be on all day? But that's not why I'm there. I'm not there to play games. We all know why I'm there. Because I'm standing on business. That's why I'm there. because we got business to tend to, because we're on every platform, you know, running a business, you know. This is, you know, something that I'm passionate about, and I know could help us in the future. So however many hours I need to put in, I'm going to put them in. Whatever time they let me, then I'll be there. It's just the fact that it kind of drains me. Just thinking about, I don't know, just thinking about like what could have been. Like, I just feel like so minimalized, so marginalized, and so much overlooked that the snub is very much in my face. And that's what matters, you know, how I feel at the end of the day, how I take my takeaway at the end of the day, you know, of, you know, what's in store for me business wise and otherwise, you know. Who wants to be like, you know, a very well educated, you know, PhD certified, whatever, guru, you know, red pill guru, and then nobody knows of me, and nobody wants to talk to me, and nobody wants to, you know, interact with me. It's kind of like I see, you know, I see all the interest on all the platforms. I see all the DMs, all the messages, you know, the way, you know, the media communicates with me every single day, all day long. It's like, you know, it's always in my face, and it's very obvious that, you know, I never got the shot that I could have, you know, had I been maybe a different, you know, and that's kind of hurtful. Especially, you know, in this day and age when everything is very much plastic, you know. So, I mean, I always say if you can't beat them, join them. So, I mean, I'll aim as low as they do. Only the fact that I have to find my footing and grounding where they're at. I'm kind of, you know, elbow nudge my way up in there. And for what it's worth, you know, just free up some time, because, you know, once I'm there, I'm not going nowhere. Everybody knows me. So it's just a matter of being in the right place, the right time, and taking every opportunity that comes with it, you know? So, you know, that's just me, just, you know, peeping game and, you know, taking every single opportunity as kind of like a vantage point to where I can see myself in the future winning exactly where they are. Because, like I said, if you can't beat them, join them. And then I will decide. I will decide for the world. You know what I mean? If you didn't like it, you shouldn't have started it. That's how I feel about the whole thing. But you guys know me. I'll never back down. I will never back down. Anyways, yeah. I feel like maybe there isn't a spot for them. It's just, a coincidence that we're seeing these things go on as if it were, an everyday event. Like it's not. Clearly it's not. Clearly, you know, if this world wanted, you know, their mainstream run by a circus, they would have hired them on a whim. Yeah, but anyways, Hurricane Aaron is bringing cold weather over here locally. I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. It did bring heavy clouds, but they rolled in and it kind of lingered around. So, I mean, where are they going to go? There's going to be bigger clouds out in the ocean soon. All those evacuations and stuff off the East Coast. People are bracing for more weather, more severe weather, more. So, what I wanted to talk about? The issue with the Smithsonian. Because I wanted to talk about it because me, I like to talk things through as opposed to just letting people say, "Oh, well, I know what y'all want. I know what y'all people need, or I think I know what you guys are getting at by, you know, trying to preserve, historic, you know, findings, right?" So I just wanted to talk about it because I know there's like so many people after Jillian Michaels and Donald Trump and the Smithsonian Museum in DC. So we're talking about the Smithsonian Museum in DC, and everybody's talking about how controversial their setup is. And I feel like maybe maybe everybody's calling it liberal and kind of calling it kind of like a leftist take on history, particularly slavery, which, you know, let's be honest, how did Abraham Lincoln get assassinated? It had to have been a liberal movement. So that's why, I like to talk about things because we don't want to press on issues that we don't ourselves understand fully or could even conceive or fathom for that matter. But this is facts that have happened, and we don't have all the, you know, key issues surrounding those incidents, you know, every moment documented because we weren't there. We weren't there. All we know is what was written. We know the ancestry of it all. And we know, I think, obviously the consequence, right? And that's exactly why the museum stands to this day. But like I said, when you bring up issues in one certain tone, the issue will continue the the dialogue of that certain movement, because you opened up the floodgates for that. And I feel like we don't want to take a liberal view on slavery. That's not what we need right now. We need to be more real. We need to be more human about it. You know, these things, they bring up objectifying black, you know, race, and just, I'd say it was very much giving almost genocide, because if you were not worthy, you weren't cut, you know? And those things alone tell you, hey, you know what? We need to not take this lightheartedly, but you know, take the fact that we're preserving this historically serious, because these things are, subjects that, you know, I think created what we are today, as we know it. And it's painful, it's very painful to understand, hateful concepts, you know, as something a people endured, but it happened. And it was this country that endured that. And, and I understand that you want to say what you want to say, but did nobody ask you, you know? And I understand that you understand things from your point of view, but, you know, unless you're a historian, then you really wouldn't understand or fully conceive that notion in the first place. And I take issue personally to the fact that you want to assume you understand the gravity of it all when clearly you don't. You want to drag it into a discussion with the president of the United States. I think it's offensive in the first place, because the one who did liberated the people ended up perishing. And then we're all going to act like we don't know why. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's just, you know, take accountability for what we're saying. Take accountability for the tone that we took upon the issue in and of itself. And the fact that it's not an issue, it's a fact of preserving historic, you know, whatever it is that's inside of that museum, you know, those things to me, you take somebody like me, a scholar, you know, um, like those things are, yes, they're hurtful, but they're necessary, because those are actual people, those are actual persons of history, you know. Without this timeline, you'd have a huge gap, in all the heroes of the past. And, just to come and vilify this museum for no reason, or to dumb it down to a political agenda, you know, I think, it's just skewed in the first place. And then to skew whatever the president's saying, you know, he said what he said, you know. He said what he said, and I feel like, yeah, I clearly understand what he means. Because if you're taking an extreme tone to this, you're gonna get all those heroes wrong. And like I said, that's one of the most painful things that you could decide to do. You know, we want to look at Kunta Kinte for being an actual figure, of history at face value. But we still haven't fully conceived what this person has done as a black man, you know? And that's, to me, that amazes me to this day, that nobody can pin it down, like literally nobody can pin it down because their brain can't even conceive what a huge impact he had on American history. And and to say things in an extreme way, which, if he was standing right next to you, just smack you in the head for talking like that, can you imagine? You'd have Harriet Tubman in tears if you were to say things like that in front of her face. you know these things that were done because of the moment in time. You were not there, so you cannot speak for them. And the way that you bump your gums about it, it's giving ignorance, you know? And I think for me, getting, getting that into what I believe was, pure heroism at the time, it just drives me mad because you know, we can only appreciate them through their descendancy, through books, through the Smithsonian Museum. And, for you to politicize this at that level, you had no business sticking your hand in that jar. But here we are. Yeah, here we are. So I understand fully what the president is doing right now. I understand fully what the Smithsonian has attempted to do. And I understand fully the importance of their setup, their showcase, their preserved artifact and fact findings that they have ready and set out for you guys. They have everything in place for you to enjoy history as it is. And to gather that information as a concept in your mind, that actually happened, that moment in time, on these grounds, in this soil, under the American sky, and your takeaway will be completely different from the next guy. But the fact that they're there should, it should click to you. You should come to the conclusion to appreciate, not, depreciate, not attack and vilify and point fingers and angle things and skew things and twist the president's words and into this disgusting, vile, grotesque, you know, dialogue that he never said. But I want you to think, you're going to stand in front of all these heroes from slavery era, U.S. slavery era, historically, and you're going to say those things out your dog mouth. Don't you understand the gravity of what is coming out? If you were to say that in front of them, they would be so torn. Just like everybody else is, this is kind of a moment where everybody's like, scandal. because what you're saying is scandalous. It's not normal. It's not normal behavior to pit one race against another. That said, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. My son different. Bye-bye.